Hey guys, let's talk about limits in reverse. So finding limits in reverse, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out at what point does the graph begin to approach a certain number. So in this case, we want the certain x values where the limit approaches -1. So those are our y values. So at what points is the graph approaching -1? Let's go through and mark them. So we've got -1, it comes across right here, okay? Now we're not looking at this as an asymptote. I'm just marking that that's where -1 is, okay? So we've got a point right here at 6 where it's approaching -1. A point here at -1 where it's approaching -1. Then -8 and -7, those ones are kind of tricky. Is -7 from both sides of the line, is it approaching -7 or is it only one side? Is it both sides or only one side? In this case, it is only from the positive side that it is approaching -7. So -7 is not going to be one of our limits. The limit at -7 is not -1. However, the limit at -8, if we look, is -1. So we have 3 points along here where the limit is -1. So I'm going to go through, I'm just going to put those in. We've got -8. I'm going to click the plus sign. So let me add more x values. That can work. We've got -1. And we have +6. Those are the 3 x values where the line is approaching -1. We got it right. Let's try another one. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. All right, so we want to find the limit as this line. Well, we want to find the x values where the limit approaches -1. Okay, so I'm going to get my line. I'm going to draw it across where -1 is because that seems to help me a little bit to visualize where is it actually -1. Okay. Now it looks like the only spot, well, there's 4 spots where that line touches. We've got -7, -4, -3, and 5. Now remember, for it to be a limit, it has to be approaching -1 from both directions. If it's not approaching from both directions, then it is not a limit of -1. So if you look at -7, is it approaching -1 from both sides? No. If you look on this side, it's coming up. On this side, it's coming at a different angle, and there's a jump there. So -7 is not a contender. Let's look at -4. Looks like on either side of -4, both lines are approaching -3. Well, that's not -1, so it's not -4. Okay, so not -7, not -4. -3, it's coming up, it's approaching -1, but then on the positive side, so the negative side does approach, the positive side does not approach. So -3 is not one of the answers. -5, though, appears that from both sides it's coming up, and it's going to approach -1. So the limit will be -1 from both sides. So the only answer here would be +5. Yes, we want to submit that answer. That's the limit. Way to go. Let's do one more, okay? I want to take a look at this one. We want to know on what intervals is the limit approaching 0. This one's for you to try, okay? So here's 0. So what x values, on what x values does the line approach 0? Is the limit 0? Okay, pause the video. All right, you should have paused the video. You should have your answers by now. If we look, there are multiple places that it does touch, okay? There are multiple places. Let's look at them. It touches at 1, at 0, and at -5. Now, for it to be a limit, both sides of that line need to be coming to touch or connect at 0. Does it happen at 1? Nope. It's trying to connect up there at 3. Does it happen at -1? Nope, there's a jump there. The positive side is coming in at 2, the negative side is coming into 0. Not it. At -5, we've got one line. The negative side is coming down to -4, and the positive side is coming down to +0. There's a jump, so that's not it either. So none of these limits, well, there's no limit on the line that approaches 0. So in this case, our answer, if there are no values, then submit the empty set. So there is no answer. Ta-da! That's kind of a tricky one. Let's try one more just for kicks and giggles. All right, we want to know, where does the limit approach a 1? At what x values does this limit approach +1? Give this one a try. Pause the video if you need to. I'm about ready to say the answer. All right, your moment for pausing the video is now over. Let's go through and look at the different values where the limit approaches 1. Got one there. It could be here. It could be here. Guys, these circles that I'm putting on are not necessarily the limit. They're just contenders. That's where the line, or there's a point that is at 0. Those are the only 4 points. So those are the only 4 possible answers. Again, not all of them are going to be answers. So we look at this first one. Do both sides of the line come up to reach +1? They do. So +1 is going to be one of my answers. Okay. Let's look at the next one. At -5, do both sides of the line approach +1? They do not. Since both sides of the line do not approach +1, this is not the limit. 1 is not the limit. 5 is not going to be one of our answers. The point is there, but the limit is not 1. Let's look at the next one. -6. -6. From our positive side, it's coming up to 1. Whoop, whoop, awesome. But on our negative side, it's going up to like 6. So is the limit 1? No, there is no limit on that case. Finally, on -8, our positive side's coming down towards -8. Our negative side is coming up towards, as it heads towards -8, the limit is approaching 1. As we're coming up from the negative side, it's approaching +1. So they're both approaching +1. The limit's the same on both sides. So what is the limit as we approach -8? It is 1. So that will be another one of our answers. There we go. All right. Jump on to Delta Math. Give a couple of these a try yourself. And we will see you guys. Well, actually, holler at me if you have any questions, okay?